Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, manager says to be off the clock by 1 p.m. Boss said to follow the rulebook to the letter? Okay, enjoy the chaos. Just trying to obey the dress code, sir. Make your choice. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Manager says to be off the clock by 1 p.m. I work in a barbecue restaurant as the pitmaster, so I run the smokers and handle all raw meat preparation. I have to get there by 5 or 6 a.m. depending on the day in order to have food ready to open the restaurant at 11. Well, the general manager, GM, decided she was spending too much on labor and needed to cut my hours. As such, she told me at around 2 p.m. on a Thursday the following: I need you to clock out by 1 p.m. every day no matter what. I asked for it in writing, and got it. So the next day, I went to the head chef when I got there that the GM said I had to be out by 1 p.m. no matter what, and showed him the signed note. I set an alarm on my phone and got to work. I got through all the prep for the next day and was starting on the cleaning when my alarm went off. Now the pit area looked awful. The walls had some smoke stains that come off pretty easily with degreaser, but build up over time. The cooler floor had some blood on it that needed to be cleaned up before it spoiled and started smelling bad. My table had some seasoning left on it from where I seasoned the pork for the overnight load. The walls still had bits of skin, gristle, etc. stuck to them. The trash can was full. I told the head chef it was 1 p.m. and I had to go. He looked in the pit and said, "Yep. This is what I expected." But he let me clock out and go. This goes on for about a week, with the pit looking worse and worse each day. Then the district manager, DM, comes in on my day off. The head chef told me that the DM immediately started on the GM for the pit looking awful and how the pitmaster needed to stay until the pit was clean no matter what. So I got it in writing and am now currently working to about 2:30 p.m. every day doing the full cleaning I was doing before again. LOL. Ah. Manglement at its best. Good on you for getting it in writing. Oh yeah, I've been in management and I know if it isn't in writing, it didn't happen. In writing. Glorious. The best part of any MC story, honestly. Yep. Number one thing you can do before engaging in any malicious compliance is to get it in writing. Long years ago, my father gave me that advice. He also said if I happened to be the one giving the instructions and someone asked for it in writing, it was a big hint to think again. A smart manager would step back and rethink any order that an employee asked for in writing. That's the second smartest. The smartest will simply observe the operation to see where deficits naturally occur, then plug with the right people or an administrative streamline, think shuffle red tape. The DM simply saw that the operation was struggling and needed another hand for longer. In this case, red tape did need to be cut, because a real employee already knew the task. Brick and mortar can be constrained, but the way up is through more revenue. Cutting expenses can't grow a business. Let's focus on the important matters at hand. How do you like to smoke a brisket? What prep work do you usually do with regard to seasoning, trimming, etc.? Cap up? Cap down? What internal temperature are you looking to achieve? Do you wrap or not? Cap up, lightly trimmed, internal temp of 190, salt and pepper only, 12-hour cook time, wrapped in butcher paper after 10 hours, hickory wood. Boss said to follow the rulebook to the letter? Okay, enjoy the chaos. I work in a medium-sized office with a very, let's say, meticulous manager. We have a company handbook that's easily 300 pages, and nobody has probably ever read it cover to cover. It has a lot of old and outdated rules, which we all ignore in favor of common sense. Last week, someone made a minor mistake that was against one of the obscure rules. Instead of addressing the specific issue, our boss decided to have a meeting. He proudly announced that from now on, we would follow the handbook rules to the absolute letter, no exceptions. Cue malicious compliance. 1. Break time overload. Our handbook says we're entitled to a 10-minute break for every hour worked. Instead of the usual 1-hour lunch and 2 15-minute breaks, we all started taking 8 separate 10-minute breaks throughout the day. Productivity plummeted. 2. Dress code chaos. Apparently, there was a rule saying ties were mandatory, but it didn't specify for whom. The women in the office started wearing the most outrageous ties they could find. Neon, sequined, ties with cats on them, you name it. 3. Printer madness. The rulebook states every document should be printed in triplicate. The printers were constantly jamming and running out of paper. The office looked like a paper factory explosion. For email explosion, there's a clause about CCing supervisors on every email. Our boss's inbox was flooded to the point of crashing. 5. Over-communication. A rule mentioned that any change, however minor, should be communicated to the entire team. Got a new pen? Sent an announcement. Moved your chair? Announcement. The constant pinging of email notifications became a hilarious office song. By the third day, our manager was at his wits' end. The entire office was barely functioning, and he knew he was the cause. On Friday, he called another meeting to announce that maybe we should use our best judgment and not rely solely on the handbook. The handbook is currently under revision. I'm so glad that you all worked together to prove how dumb these rules are. Hopefully you'll get rules that make more sense. Oh, I hope the women keep wearing the ties. Those sound fun. I give some credit to the boss for recognizing that he caused the chaos and reversing his directions. It takes a mature person to do that. He is probably not a bad leader, just idealistic. Maybe you guys cured him. Just trying to obey the dress code, sir. Make your choice. When I was in high school, I was part of a punk band that played regular gigs at a few venues around the city. We would regularly open for touring bands that came into town. I guess we were a bit of a novelty act since we were all like 15 years old and put on a good show. Well, part of being an interesting punk band is having a wild appearance, and as such I always had some kind of brightly colored mohawk or spikes on my head. So one day in the middle of the school year, the school sends home an updated dress code notice that now includes no unnatural hair colors or styles, and a few other annoying changes that were specifically directed at me and my friends. At the time my hair was actually bleach blonde, so technically I didn't have to do anything, but when I got home I remembered that I had a ridiculously plush curly gray granny wig that I had bought as a gag. That's when my devious little mind had a great idea. The next day at school I showed up in combat boots with a plaid suit and my hilarious granny wig. First period I had a really nice teacher who complimented my humor. Second period, I had a real hard-ass teacher who I knew must have had something to do with the dress code change, because we had actually argued about my appearance before. So I showed up early to class and had a seat. Class is about to start. The teacher walks in, gets everyone quiet and at attention, then I notice him notice me. He calls me out. Yes, sir? I ask. Take that ridiculous thing off your head right now. I comply, and as I take it off, my freshly dyed bright blue mohawk springs up. The look on his face was priceless. The whole class was stifling their laughter. We all knew he was gonna have to choose. He just tightens his mouth, shakes his head, and says, "Ugh, whatever." I got to do this with every hard teacher for the rest of my day, forced them to make the choice between the devil and the deep blue sea. Inevitably, it seems I was able to make the rule unenforceable, and after a few weeks other kids were showing up with unnatural hair as well. No one gave us much resistance after that. The phrase, "I don't get paid enough for this," really did spring to mind. If the only people distracted by an appearance is the teachers, it's not a uniform policy issue. Now I've known teachers who supplied students shampoo, soap, and the like as a subtle indicator that they should be used a bit more regularly, but I've also seen that in the workplace too. When it comes to school uniform though, as a Brit we had one. It was gray, white or black, with the only color being the orange on the tie that few pupils wore after the first week. No, they weren't clip-on, which was why they were abandoned after the first week. All boys school, not religious. Our school said no shorts for boys, so we wore skirts. I didn't even wear shorts, but by gum, I wore a skirt. I honestly don't remember how long it took for the school to rescind the rule, but it seems like it was almost immediately. It's good to hear that folks still challenge authority and don't just meekly comply. Natural hair color isn't always what people expect. One great example is the Melanesian people in the South Pacific. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.